ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ. Right, nice to meet everybody. My name is Bhagat Singh and this is Sangeet. We're going to try to share a little bit about what we like to call Guru Nanak's universal message. Because as a Sikh, which essentially means a student, Guru Nanak didn't come onto this earth to preach to the religious or preach to anybody who was looking for God, so to speak. He just came to deliver a message of oneness to all of mankind. And if I was to sort of embark on or try to absorb his sort of verbal messages, I could therefore call myself a student of that message, a student of that story of life, the story of the universe, the journey of the spirit. And as such, if I was to call myself a student of that sort of way of thinking, is what the word Sikh means. Essentially, it means a student, or a student of universe, a student of life, a student of the great sort of beginning, the endless sort of infinite nature of everything. So in today's day and age, it's been narrowed down to almost like a faith group, a way of living. And I might look at myself and my sort of so-called Sikh peers and look at them as a structured religious organization, and we follow a set of practices. But that's not what Guru Nanak came for. And if we're staying true to the word of, and the thinking, the philosophy and the spirit of his arrival, or his message rather, then it's a case of seeing oneness with all mankind, because every single living being, human or not, contains a living spirit within. And if we recognize that, not just mentally or consciously, but truly inside our soul, if it becomes second nature, that we're able to appreciate the oneness within us all, each creature, including plant life for that matter. We appreciate that everything grows, has a desire to survive, to get on, to network, to reach out, and to feel each other and be there for each other. We're actually one. We're essentially one. I was about to say one life form, but clearly no matter what the species is, if we're living, according to Guru Nanak, we have this light within. And the more we internally reflect and connect, that appreciation becomes larger and we become more conscious of it. So essentially, that's what his message is about, and this is what we're hoping to discuss today. So his original message is essentially starts with the word one, and therefore after that builds upon various qualities that we could begin to reflect upon as far as a higher consciousness in this universe and beyond might be concerned. So whatever makes us tick, whatever makes us love, think, have emotions, just be us, that thing that departs or disappears or moves on when the body comes to its natural end, that thing that makes us us is essentially part of a larger network of an Atma. So in sort of traditional language, Atma means the soul, and Paramatma just means an ultimate soul. And this recognition that we belong to something much larger is essentially the message of Guru Nanak, that this universe, and certainly beyond the universe, an infinite nature of endlessness, is permeated with this vibration of being connected with each other. But if we are attuned to it, so anybody from any walk of life, regardless of religion, regardless of language practice, color, creed, obviously, in any part of the world, any education level, whether somebody has read Guru Nanak's message or not, if somebody truly feels from within, reflects from within, and certainly gets into the practice of doing so, slowly the attunement and sort of natural resonance that you begin to arrive at is that same oneness. So yes, a Sikh now has a figure and all of a sudden has a title and a structure, and it looks like just yet another religion out there. But that's not what Guru Nanak came for. So what we might traditionally think of as the great pearly gates of the entrance to heaven, let's say, once this bodily function comes to an end and our soul transcends to some other place, at that point, Guru Nanak's message was, you're not really going to be judged as a piece of light, as a section of light from a greater light. You're not going to be judged as to what title you held when you lived this body form. You know, what was your name? What was your color? What was your religion? What did you adhere to? That's not even part of the game at that point, because we are something beyond this body. And that light that has no shape, that has no size, has no title, has no name, is part of a greater network. And these sort of denominations that we create on this planet, it just all of a sudden become irrelevant. So for me to take a real powerful cling on to this sort of this way of thinking that I belong to this group now, and this is what we do. And you guys are something separate. You guys have your own belief systems, and we naturally create these divides. And sometimes when you look at it on a religious level, or even sometimes I look at it as when we're talking about any other level, like this is UK, and you guys are something else. You know, you guys belong over there in Europe or somewhere else, another planet, part of the planet, and we create these divides. And even city by city, or even football team by football team, it's the same thing. We create these sort of cliques. We belong. This is my clique, and that's your clique, and don't come to my clique, and so on. So anyway, this small way of thinking is what divides us. And ultimately, if we recognize that what we feel within and the kinship we feel with each other, the natural appeal that the sort of the natural world has to a person who opens his eyes to it, there's more that binds us than divides us. And the more we make our way in, or train our mind almost to make it second nature to think like that. So our natural reaction, not a conscious reaction, but a natural reaction is to feel it and to recognize that. Then the way we interact with each other, the way we respond, the way we deal with each other, the way we operate in the world becomes a much different thing. So this is essentially what Guru Nanak's message was. And then just to go a little bit deeper, he mentioned that whatever level of capacity we have for love, or for patience, or for tolerance, or for contentment, and certainly for compassion, everybody has varying degrees of ability in regards to when they reach that sort of plateau point where they're able to give no more, and all of a sudden it's about self-preservation. But Guru Nanak's message was, as we begin to still the mind through meditation, as we begin to focus and internally reflect, the capacity to love, the capacity for compassion can actually be exponential. It will increase, it does increase, if we rub against that eternal vibration. Guru Nanak reveals that within everything and within the void is a naturally occurring vibration that is what you might term as creation or material objects, but actually transcends into the immaterial or the spiritual as well. And this natural vibration, when people let go of everything that kind of ties you down, or even if an animal or a plant, if it suddenly just sort of reaches out to its inner self, feels the strength and the power to grow and evolve. Guru Nanak's message that plant life, insect life, any type of life can evolve. You're not pre-structured into a defined way of living or way of thinking. No matter, in fact, just to break away and become, ground things a little bit. When we think of the spectrum of society, and you might have, let's say, a pedophile or a serial killer, or some things that we might deem as the lower end of the spectrum as far as sort of acceptability of what makes us what's socially acceptable, and wherever we fit on that spectrum, in the middle, a bit at the lower end or a bit at the higher end, and somebody who's reached the pinnacle of internal enlightenment. If that was sort of the said spectrum, Guru Nanak says it really doesn't matter where you sit, because you still have the potential. So we literally are talking about if there was a Hitler-type figure on one side, or cutthroat killer, or whatever you might deem as a very low-end, very sort of, I hate to use the word bad, I hate to use the word hate, but somebody of that caliber, if you like, right? But that person too has that spark inside, if allowed to be sort of flowered or watered, can take you from the depths of sort of social depravities into an angelic type being. The possibility is there. According to Guru Nanak, there's no end to the potential of the human capability. So when we apply that to ourselves, it makes me feel okay, actually, that, wherever I fit on that spectrum, hopefully I can't deem myself that far lost that I can't pick myself up and be able to sort of take myself somewhere else and improve myself and evolve internally. And when Guru Nanak talked about not just that, but the grandness, the endlessness of life itself, but if we also talk about the material universe, so the Earth, where it fits in with the solar system and how it fits into the galaxy and the grandness and the expanse of that, and then the groups of galaxies and so on, and then the universe itself, and the truly endless expanse of that universe, and even beyond. That shook heads at that time in the 1400s and 1500s, because as far as people were concerned at that time, I'm sorry, but it's quite set actually. The Earth is the Earth, and this is where life exists. And other faith groups might have said, well, yes, we agree that there might be, maybe 7 above and 7 below, but what are you talking about? Endless millions? There's no such thing. It boggled people's minds. But those people who truly internally accept the fragility of their own mind and where they fit in and amongst the grand universe realize that there is much more. And if the universe truly is that endless, the thing that blew my mind about Guru Nanak's message is that the endlessness of that outer expanse is actually contained within, if you realize how you're connected up to that network. And if you are connected up to everything and you truly feel and expand yourself and enlighten yourself to such a degree that you begin to resonate with that, then that endless universe is accessible from within. You are part of it. You are it. There's actually nothing out there that we can use our external senses to become one with, but that internal reflection can actually reveal all and does reveal all. And when we bring that perspective into our everyday lives, the capability of how we interact with each other, this sort of knowledge, it helps us grow and transform into something else. And regardless of what my previous habits and my nature and my sort of general way of being might have been yesterday or the year before, matters not, because what I might expect myself to grow into today, this second, can really transform into something else. And Guru Nanak's sort of message about the now was so heavy to focus on, because it's so natural for us all to think about the past, mistakes others have done to us, what we have done, and it kind of unsettles us, and we worry about the future, where we're going, what may happen, what might not happen, and how will we get there. And Guru Nanak tries to get us to shed that past, because it kind of becomes irrelevant. If somebody just spat on me 5 seconds ago, that's completely irrelevant to this second right now, because where I take myself in recognition of where I fit in within the universe and how I'm blended into that as well, if I recognize that deep enough, anything in the past becomes inconsequential, and anything in the future also I need not worry about, because if the universe has looked after itself for eternity, and I'm part of that, it's almost like my mother and my father, and my relationship is real, and I'm already taken care of. I don't like to think of things as preordained. There actually is no future. This second is the only thing that exists. And it's deep enough and powerful enough, according to Guru Nanak, to latch onto and become stable enough in yourself to never waver from. And our own, but the caveat. So I mean, everything I've described so far, I've tried to break up this talk into 3 segments, and the beginning being what we've just discussed, which is the awakening part of Guru Nanak's message, which is, this is the state of affairs. So the picture I've tried to paint so far is how we fit in, and this is the way of how nature is. And yes, it wasn't tangibly, evidentially, and scientifically proven back in the 1400s or the 1500s that this is the nature of life, the nature of our being. But as we evolve as a human group, and we begin to appreciate ourselves and what goes on around us, we start to pick up on the fact that there is some truth to this, especially for those who really have delved deep enough to experience it for themselves. That being the picture, the awakening, leads on to the second segment of the talk, which is the journey itself. So once we begin to step on, accept there is something more than me, there's something more than my surroundings and my appreciations, there's more that I can experience and feel and get involved with. So that journey is what I'm just going to spend a few minutes on, and after that talk about the results, so that you know where that leads us, and shortly after that we'll be wrapping up, maybe taking having a bit of an experience in regards to how to wind away and how to lock into something else before we take sort of any questions. And if you've got any really, really burning questions during the way, and you really need to sort of ask something or clarify something, then feel free. So yes, so if we accept that there is a possibility in what has been said as being accessible and being at the doorstep of every man, woman or child or beyond, then the journey itself begins. So we often say, you know, for an addict of any kind, to be able to work on himself and improve that addiction, first needs to accept, though, that there is a problem. There's a fragility in me, there's a frailty in me that makes me succumb to this sort of need to fulfill myself in this manner, even though it's short-lived. But it's a sort of short-lived piece that I need, and it works for me, right? But if I accept that I'm stuck in that and I'm overexposed to that particular addiction, then only can we sort of work on a solution and accept that there is something incomplete within me that I can then fulfill with something else, whether it's knowledge, whether it's or some sort of appreciation or another. And Guru Nanak tries to describe that if you accept that all does exist inside you, then it's time to accept that the only thing that's stopping you from getting there is also yourself. It's not the exterior influences that might knock us off balance, because even me, I'm talking all this high talk, but I'm a human being too, and I can put my finger and blame anything else. You know, it's the bills, and it's the way you're coming at me, and it's this and that and the other and everything else under the sun, right? But that capacity to be able to accept, to reattune and wind back and accept our place in the grandness of everything can sometimes realign our responses, our reactions, our internal reactions, let alone our verbal or physical reactions. So the journey itself begins then, the acceptance, and then begin to walk on how I might be able to transcend that. So if I work into my system proactively, a way to create my circle of positive people, you know, begin to meditate on a regular basis, begin to absorb more positive wisdom, reflect and be honest to yourself about how that relates to you and how it fits in. Because quite often we can quite easily become blind followers to a cult or a way of thinking or people that can mislead ultimately. But if you're honest with yourself alone and use that as the benchmark towards what it is you're absorbing, what it is I'm taking on board, then that real anchorage to the ultimate can be maintained. And Guru Nanak says that if we accept our frailty, that me and myself on my own, with my even base desires and emotions, I can get led astray by myself, but by me, I can lead myself astray. And if I accept that the frailty is in me and not in anybody else around me, then I can start making progress. So Guru Nanak goes into a lot of detail to talk about our emotions and how our desires and sort of this need for me to be recognized. So therefore my pride or my ego or my recognition in my circles, I guess at least, or even, if not even further afield, my wants and desires and my needs and base, almost even animalistic needs and emotions is the very thing that's holding us down. And with any amount of willpower, you cannot defeat them, according to Guru Nanak anyway, that he describes in multiple sort of expressions that a humble, feeble little soul such as me has got nothing against these powerful emotions that drag me left, right and center and cause me to my state to be all over the place. And if I were to ignore my needs momentarily, my emotional needs or my feelings or my desires, and replace that with something, that peace-giving acceptance and meditative relationship with the unseen, the universe around us, that thing that makes us tick the light inside, that is actually inside me and around me and everywhere else, if I work myself towards that, then instead of destroying or trying to go up against myself, I am replacing it with something grander, and therefore I am managing to win, win myself, win over myself, start to begin to ground, root and stabilize myself with something greater and stronger. So the journey itself is a gradual, but also, depending on where somebody sits, can be an immediate process of transformation, and also an enjoyable transformation, because as one begins to feel and connect to everything, there's actually, according to Guru Nanak, a flavor, a peace, a taste, an emotion, an overriding sense of love and gratitude, almost as if the universe, after all, my surroundings and everything that I can see or not see, was a caretaking mother-type figure, father-type figure, husband, wife-type figure, whatever we in an earthly sense consider to be a very warm and loving, supportive relationship. He uses analogies like this to almost sort of bring close to us that we are being looked out for. We are, in the same way that my body organism is controlled and balanced out by trillions of microorganisms working in tandem with each other to keep the whole wider self in chemical harmony. And in the same way, our minds and the soul is also operating like that, with the wider mechanism of the light, the soul, or whatever you want to call it. And we're all sort of looking out for each other like that, right? So if we allow ourselves to. So the journey becomes a slowly transformative process. And as we start to approach the result, the final segment of this sharing is that, as I said right in the very beginning, the capacity to which we're able to give or have compassion or hold an empathetic feeling towards those that are around us grows, but not only grows, it can become exponential, because I will reach my limits real quick if I'm forever giving. But Guru Nanak says that amount of giving can be exponentially endless inside the desire to love, to give, to want, to be able to express and do good for others, and your input into society in your local spheres, families or local communities, or even further afield, grows. I mean, if you think about how productive many people across this planet have been for the betterment of mankind and the earth itself. Yes, and we can also go into the side of the discussion that says exploitative sort of nature that we might sort of end up doing as well. But if we think about the altruistic element of betterment for everybody, that can reach a plateau or a pinnacle at some point, but the glass ceiling that we can make for ourselves is ever increasing with meditation. So without wanting to sort of blab all day long, that essentially was the delivery. And I apologize for this talk being so, normally we like this sort of thing to be a two-way conversation. We want to just be able to share what Guru Nanak's message has been. And everything I've said won't change anybody's life. It won't change my life, because it's theory. And we can talk the talk all day long. It's a difficult journey, though, when we're actually walking the walk. So what we wanted to do in today's presentation is not just talk the talk, but invite everybody to take a few moments to really sort of get into it as well, to maybe take a flavor. And the talk might be dismissed, in 2 seconds, but hopefully what we might hope to feel, we can take away with us. So I'm going to invite Sangeet Benji to sort of to let everybody know what's going to happen next.
So Bhagat Singh has spoken about vibration. Baji touched on that earlier, and that's what we're going to experience, really. We're going to experience aligning ourselves with a vibration which is within us, around us, and everywhere. And through aligning, attaching ourselves to that vibration, to experiencing that vibration, we connect and become that vibration more. So when we were talking about, we started with the message of Guru Nanak, the revelation, and then we went through the journey. The journey is very much connected with meditation, and in that meditation, that can be through singing, it can be through attaching our thoughts, thinking of the qualities of this infinite consciousness. And ultimately, as we go through the journey, we're bringing those qualities, that vibration, to every single thought, every single word that we speak, and every single action that we take. So we become a living embodiment of that divinity, of that infinite consciousness. And this is through habit. So what we'll experience today is as a sangat, as a group of conscious individuals, aligning ourselves with that vibration through hearing, through chanting, so that we can unlock, so that we can connect with that essence which already is within us, but which we, through that sense of separation, which is essentially the veil of the ego, feel separated from. But the more we do this, the more we can feel that vibration, that essence within us, and bring it to every moment of our day, through each breath, through each interaction, through each thought. We act through that virtue, through that vibration. So I'd invite you all to, if you feel comfortable to do so, to come and join us so that we can really experience each other's voices. So if you're comfortable, please feel free to come and join us here. And we're going to be chanting the mantra Va He Guru. So this is one of the mantras that was given to us as a really powerful mantra to help us transform our vibration, to become in alignment with that infinite consciousness. So I would invite you to close your eyes and slowly bring your attention to your breath, to your inhale, to the exhale. Bringing your mind in and become aware of this force, this power which is supporting your every breath with such devotion, with such consistency. With such love. And I invite you to feel that protective light around you, within you, and all around. Knowing that you are held, that you are loved, that you are cherished by this immense creative force which created you with such care and tenderness. We're going to go into chanting Vaheguru. And as you sing Va, feel that ecstasy. Imagine what it would feel like to be reunited with that essence from which we originate. And once we're reunited with that lightness of being, of knowing, of enlightenment. Vaheguru, 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 Sing with all your heart, as it's just you and that essence. And really listen to your own voice. The most healing sound known to your being, your own voice. Vaheguru, Allow yourself to just sit in that vibration. Knowing that each cell, each atom has come into alignment with this sacred vibration, this sacred sound, which reveals our own essence to us. Begin to bring the awareness back to the breath. And please, when you feel comfortable, you can open your eyes.
So thanks for everybody for having the patience to hear what we've had to say today. I hope it was of some value, if not just for an informational sake, but more than that, that you've taken something away by way of what you feel and the place you're in now, walking out compared to what you were as you came in. So Guru Nanak, one of Guru Nanak's messages, whether for a moment, a half a moment, a few seconds, or even less than that, any reflection towards a positive will always be of benefit, however small in time or amount of dedication. There's always room for positivity and productivity in the growth of our inner selves. So thanks for taking the time. If anybody feels that they have got any questions, you're more than welcome. We'll be hanging around after the session for a little while as well, if anybody wants to come and have a chat. But it was very nice to meet you all and be amongst you. And thanks very much for your time, and hope we all take a lot of benefit from the other talks that are also yet to come during the week. So thanks very much.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।